Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's video, we have another trade update video. We're looking at the last 3 trades we haven't touched on so far that happened yesterday, plus an offer sheet signing as the New Jersey Devils have offer sheeted an RFA. We'll touch on all these coming up right now. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video here at the End-to-End Hockey channel. If you're just joining us for the first time, leave a like on the video, comment, we'd love to get your thoughts down in the comment section below. Subscribe, we're trying to hit 750 subscribers. In the very near future, we have more videos coming out over the next couple of days, so definitely don't forget to stay tuned for those updates. But in today's video, we do have a very interesting one. This is one that is just going to incorporate the last 3 trades we haven't gotten around to touching on yet, plus an offer sheet that happened yesterday as well. So we're going to start here with a couple of trades. The first one I want to touch on here is in the Nashville Predators and Dallas Stars, as the Predators have acquired Bourque, who is currently an RFA, and Lyubushkin, the last year of his contract, from the Dallas Stars in exchange for the Predators 2027 second and Knights 2028 third round pick. So a very interesting swap here for both sides. For the Stars, they need cap space to try and sign Jason Robertson. So Lyubushkin had always been identified as a guy who was an expendable piece in Dallas, making almost $3 million. And once again, being a guy who's expendable on the defensive end, so they move him. They also move Bourque, who's also a pending RFA and was a very likely offer sheet candidate. So before they wound up hitting free agency, they do wind up moving Bourque, which is a very smart move there for Dallas. Once again, they do lose a lot of the offensive production that he brought last year. You get 2 picks in return, so it's 27 second rounder of the Nashville Predators, 28 third rounder of the Golden Knights. Not sure how good the Preds will be next year, or the Knights will be the year after. And once again, Dallas might be a really good team next year, or they might be a little bit of a flop. So we'll see if they wind up using those picks and the drafts that they are in, or if they wind up using them as trade fodder over the next couple of years. But either way, the Stars are able to get a couple of picks for a couple of players. So very interesting note there. For the Preds, they get 2 interesting pieces here. They get Lyubushkin. He's a right shot defenseman, 32 years old, was actually number 26 on my End-to-End Hockey trade bait board. He is in the final year of his deal with the AAV of $3.25 million, so just a hair over $3 million. This past year, he put up a goal and 9 points in 53 games. He has been, over the past couple of years, a really serviceable third pair shutdown defenseman. Not a guy who's going to put you up a whole bunch of points, but as a guy who's a really sound defensive defenseman. So I think on the third pair, maybe even on the second pair in the Nashville Predators organization, I think Lyubushkin will be able to thrive. And if the Preds are a bad team again next year, they can always trade him for some picks and prospects at the deadline. So very interesting there. But the big piece that the Preds get here is Bourque. He's an RFA, so he does need a new contract. But Bourque is 24 years old. He is a center/right winger, so he can play in a couple of different spots. Bourque, I think, long term has the potential to be a really solid top 6 forward in the Preds organization, maybe playing as like a second line winger. Bourque this past year put up 20 goals and 41 points in 82 games. So once again, I still think he has potential of being like a solid 25 to 30 goal scorer, maybe putting somewhere around the 60 to 65 point plateau. So not a bad pickup here in my opinion for the Preds. I do really like the addition here for Bourque. We'll have to see what sort of contract they sign him to, but all in all, a really solid pickup here for the Nashville Predators as they're able to get Bourque in a trade. And that Predators forward group was looking a ton better with now acquiring Bourque, signing Alex Kerfoot, making a couple of other small moves before free agency. So not a bad pickup here for the Preds, and I do think they probably do win this deal, getting Bourque for only a second and third round pick as well as Lyubushkin. So very interesting note there. Then we saw a trade here between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs. A very interesting one. The trade as follows. Toronto acquires Nick Paul from the Tampa Bay Lightning in exchange for Dennis Hildeby and the Toronto Maple Leafs 2028 third and 2027 fourth round picks. So for the Bolts, they needed some more cap space. They just added McKay MVL, so they needed some more bottom 6 help. So they moved Nick Paul to try and free up some cap space. He was making $3.15 million. They get potentially their goalie of the future in Dennis Hildeby, who I think as of next year could easily be the team's backup. He's 24 years old. He's a goaltender. He's got 1 year left on his DLC that he's getting a new contract. But once again, with Toronto signing Bobrovsky, he had no spot at the NHL level for the next couple of years for Toronto. So Hildeby, I think, is going to be a really stellar backup this year to Andrei Vasilevskiy, and maybe in the next year or two could wind up taking over from Vasilevskiy as a starting goaltender. So very interesting note there, but that's a really solid pickup for Tampa from Hildeby, who wound up having a 2.86 GAA and 914 save percentage in 20 games last year with Toronto. So that's a really good pickup. And then they also get a couple of draft picks, a 4th rounder in next year's draft and a 3rd rounder in the following year's draft. So once again, Tampa still projects to be a really solid team. They could easily move those picks as trade fodder. Maybe they do wind up keeping them and using them as selections in the next couple of years draft. But either way, some more draft capital to draft draft cupboards there for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they also get Dennis Hildeby, who's going to be a really solid backup goaltender next year for Tampa. Meanwhile, for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're able to get Nick Paul. Paul is 31 years old. He's a left wing / center. He's got 3 years left on his current contract at $3.15 million. I think he will end up being a third liner for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Once again, next he's probably going to miss the first few weeks, at least maybe a month or two of the season. So Paul, I think, is going to slide in really well on that third line, either center or a left winger. This past year put up 7 goals, 15 points to 51 games with the Bolts. Once again, was injured a little bit. So I do think in Toronto he can put up around the 10 to 15 goal mark, probably around the 35 to 40 point plateau, and I think he could be a really serviceable player here for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So interesting note there, but the Leafs get some more bottom 6 help as they try and revert that bottom 6 in Nick Paul from the Tampa Bay Lightning, who get their future starting goaltender and current backup in Dennis Hildeby, as well as a 3rd round pick and a 4th round pick. So very interesting note there, but an interesting swap between 2 Atlantic Division teams as Tampa and Toronto hook up on a deal. And then the last trade here I'm going to touch on in this video is between the Red Wings and the Golden Knights, as the Detroit Red Wings acquired Keegan Kolesar from the Vegas Golden Knights in exchange for a 3rd round pick in 2029 and a 7th round pick in 2027. For Knights, once again, it really does hurt to lose Kolesar, who's actually been a pretty decent bottom 6 forward over the past couple of years in the Golden Knights organization. So it does really hurt the Golden Knights to lose a solid contributor like Keegan Kolesar. They get a 3rd round pick and a 7th round pick in return. Once again, Vegas is a team who's projected to be going for it, so they'll probably flip those picks at a later date. But once again, this also does free them up $2.5 million in cap space. So maybe the Golden Knights are gearing up to go after something big, but either way, they do wind up moving off of Keegan Kolesar and his $2.5 million AAV cap hit. For the Red Wings, they're able to get Keegan Kolesar. So once again, the Red Wings are trying to keep Larkin in the fold. Kolesar is 29 years old. He's a right winger. He's got 2 years left on a $2.5 million AAV deal. Kolesar this past year had 6 goals and 17 points in 82 games, which is pretty decent for a 4th liner. So I think he'll probably fit in really well on the Red Wings 4th line, playing on the right wing, being able to put up between 5 and 10 goals around like the 20 to 25 point plateau, not afraid to mix things up, and I think this could be a really solid pickup here for the Detroit Red Wings. So very interesting to note there, but the Knights have moved Keegan Kolesar to Detroit in exchange for a 3rd and 7th round pick, and we'll see how this deal affects both teams as the Red Wings are able to get some bottom 6 help, and the Golden Knights are able to get some draft picks as well as some cap space. So very interesting to note there, but a very interesting trade that we saw yesterday happen between the Golden Knights and the Detroit Red Wings. So very interesting to note there. And the last one I want to touch on here is Barret Hayton in Utah. Hayton was an RFA. He hit free agency once again as a restricted free agent yesterday, but he winds up signing a 1-year contract with an AV of $4.775 million in the New Jersey Devils organization, and that is an offer sheet. So very interesting to note there. Hayton is 26 years old. He's a center / left winger at 10 goals and 25 points in 67 games this past year for the Utah Mammoth. So once again, there's a very interesting dilemma here. So with the cap hit that the Devils have signed him to, the Mammoth, if they didn't match, would receive a 2nd round pick in draft compensation. So that's very interesting to note there. And once again, the Mammoth do have enough cap space to match this sort of a deal because Utah at this current point in time has just over $5 million left in cap space. However, if they do match this offer sheet from the New Jersey Devils, he can't be traded for a year, and this contract will lead him straight to UFA status. So if they can't get an extension done before next year in free agency, then he could walk away for nothing. So that's the situation the Mammoth are in right now. If they match the deal, they do get to keep Hayton on a reasonable $4.7 million cap hit, but they would wind up risking walking him to UFA status and not keeping him beyond next year. However, if they do wind up not matching, they'll get a 2nd round pick in return, but they will lose a solid top 9 forward. So that's the situation Utah's in. They're going to have a week to decide. So by July 8th, they're going to have to figure out if they want to match it or not. So very interesting note there, but the Devils have pulled off the offer sheet card and offer sheet Barret Hayton from Utah. So very interesting note there. But that's all I'm going to talk about for today. I left you guys thoughts on this deal down in the comment section below. Who do you think won the deals? I think that the Dallas Stars lost the Bourque deal to the Nashville Predators. I think the Red Wings definitely won the Keegan Kolesar deal, and I also do think that the Toronto Maple Leafs lost the Dennis Hildeby deal to the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I'll have your guys thoughts on those ones and what do you think of the Hayton offer sheet. But that's all I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video if you're related to it, remember to subscribe down below. Thank you for all of your support. I'll never be able to with all of you guys. So if you haven't already, leave a like, comment, subscribe, as I'd love your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. We're trying to hit 750 subscribers in the very near future. We also got a couple more videos coming in the very near future. I do a blog doing news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so check that out. Link to that down in the description below. On top of that, I also leave a link to on my Buy Me a Coffee page. Once again, just a site that I made that allows you guys to help support the channel. So if you guys really do want to, leave a donation down on my Buy Me a Coffee page, and I can't wait to see you guys all for the next video. video. God bless y'all. I'll see y'all on the next one.